Welcome to Let's Relieve Regret, the uplifting podcast where we talk about how to relieve what you're worrying about.
It can feel so good to finally let go. Let go of past hurts, let go of old grudges, let go of self-doubt, self-shame.
The thing is, we aren't always given the tools to let go. We're told to get over it, or it's time to move on. But how do we do that?
We will share our stories, tools, and strategies of how we let go to help you let go.
Let's begin. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Let's Relieve Regret podcast. My name is Victoria Muir-Bercia, and I will be your cruise director for today. And I am joined by my co-cruise director,
Shadoe Ball.
Yay!
Yay!
Welcome. How are you feeling today?
Like a 6, I guess. Having a really weird week over here, but still really excited to jump in and chat with you today.
Yeah, what am I gonna give myself? I might be a 6 too. I've actually had a really, really productive week, but woke up really tired this morning with my SAD. But the sun's out today, so
and it's bright.
It's super bright.
Yeah.
So the last episode, I talked about leaning into my SAD, right? I had a client this morning at 7:30 in the morning, which I don't usually do, and it's thrown my day off. I've already had a nap,
right?
And it's 12:30.
Yeah.
So again, I need to lean into my SAD and not book anything early in the morning. So that's me. Anyways,
I'm sure your client really appreciated it, though, right? Like some people are just more morning people, and
oh yeah, it was it's a client that I've like grandfathered in. They're a training client, and nice. I don't do a lot of training anymore. Mostly life coaching or life coaching combined with training. If you wanted training with me, and I mean, they just needed a 7:30 in the morning, half an hour workout on Zoom. So I was like, yeah, I'm doing it from home on Zoom. I'm not, so
yeah,
I don't mind. I love this client. They've been my client for a long time. So
nice.
But I've already had a 2-hour nap. And thank goodness I did, everybody, or you'd be getting groggy, cranky Victoria for the Let's Relieve Regret episode today. So leaning into the nap.
Oh no, you
go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of being cranky, I think we have something to discuss. I mean, maybe it's part of our cause for applause, but do we want to talk about this?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about it.
Okay.
I love that you just took over because you this is like this. I'm just gonna point out, it's like, yeah, Shadoe feels a little uncomfortable about this, everybody. So I'm gonna talk about it. Shadoe's trying to get control and start talking about it. I love you.
I know.
Okay, if you haven't gone to our Instagram account, everybody, Shadoe made her first post showing her face. Yay!
Well, real. I like, I have pictures with my face.
Yeah,
but
real.
I just don't really
we'll
do reels or videos with my face.
You're right.
In it. Yeah.
So kind of candid, impromptu reel. And yeah. So I'm going through this process of trying to learn how to grow my Instagram for myrecreo.health. And also Shadoe and I are going through the process to try and grow the Instagram and outreach for Let's Relieve Regret. And last week I said, you got to do a post with your face. They can't just see me because I keep doing posts of me. And so Shadoe made a post. And if you haven't seen it, everybody, go see it on our Instagram account. The link's underneath here. It's relieve.regret. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to pin it. I think I'll pin it to the top of our profile. Yeah.
But Shadoe basically did a 10-second reel saying, Victoria said that I have to do a reel and I don't want to do it. And that was the reel. First of all, the reel that Shadoe did got the most views out of any reel we've ever done on the Instagram account. Most comments we've ever gotten, the most interaction. So I know that there's a magic to Shadoe, and I was just trying to get you, Shadoe, to use your magic. But I got a couple comments reaching out to me asking me if I was okay if Shadoe's mad at me from some of our past guests and from like some of our followers. I got some DMs. So no, Shadoe's, and I laughed because as soon as I saw it, I knew what was happening. I knew that you were being sarcastic.
Yeah.
So lesson learned, we'll just make sure we say read the caption or something at the bottom. But also thank you for reaching out to make sure that
that's so sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel very
really
cared
nice.
for. I also like some of the comments from my people were like, oh, don't force it if it doesn't feel natural. And it wasn't even about that. It was just like I was stumped for an idea. So I leaned into this trick I learned from a writing program I was in, where when you don't know what to write, you just start writing, I don't know what to write, over and over and over again until your brain kind of takes over and starts writing something that's interesting or that needs to come out or whatever. So I kind of thought the same thing. I would just go out and be like, oh, this reel, I don't know what to do about this reel. Like, I'm out here with Gertie, we're playing, it's fine, it's fun, it's kind of gray out. Like, so then that little 10-second snippet is actually part of like a full 3-minute video where I was kind of hemming and hawing over what to make my reel of. So I just thought it would be funny to be like that was when I rewatched it. And again, I watched it a bunch of times to try and find like something out of it. I just thought that would be a really funny place to start. So yeah, I'm not mad at Victoria. I appreciate the encouragement. So sorry if anyone thought there was any friction here, because there isn't. It's just my own insecurity of like showing my face on camera, not anything else.
So keep giving Shadoe encouragement, everybody, and I'll keep giving her encouragement. We've talked about how Shadoe and I met. We met in like a women's business group that was like a small group that would meet on Zoom during the pandemic. And we'd never, any of these women in this group like met in real life, right? And one day we were having a discussion about two things. One was how tall we thought each other were, and everybody thought I was way taller than I am.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's so interesting, because we are almost like think about height in terms of like powerful personality. So they must be a taller person. Everybody thought I was like 5'7" or 5'8", and I'm like 5'1.5". And we were laughing about that. But then do you remember Christina's feedback about me? She said, yeah. Do you want to tell it?
Yeah, she said, like, before I even joined the group, she had already met you, and she was like, oh, I think you'll really enjoy this group. There's this other woman in the group who's like pushy, but like in a good way.
Yeah. I was like, and at first I was like, oh, am I like a bully? And then I was like, no, I'm just like strong and encouraging people, I think. Yeah. Right. And so when I heard that description, I've leaned into it almost. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I'm cool with being described that way, like pushy, but in a good way. Pushy, but in an encouraging way, I guess.
Is that not the exact job description of a coxie?
Yeah, it's totally the exact job, and almost of a life coach too, right? Yeah. Or an accountability coach is like, how am I going to get you to do things you don't want to do, but you know that they're going to be good for you?
Yeah, even
right? Yeah.
Like even before just as we were talking here, I almost used the word pushy, but I used the word encouragement instead.
Yeah, let's switch the word to encouraging, like strongly encouraging, but in a good way. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, there was one comment that was like, don't let anybody push you to do what you don't want to do. And I read that and I was like, I think I was just being pushy in a good way.
You were. And so. That's also, I will get in there and reply to the comments. I have been kind of ignoring the reel ever since I posted it. Like I didn't even know it had as many views as you mentioned this morning. Yeah, but good little experiment. That's what this podcast is all about, is experimenting. And
yeah, and I think it's okay that you posted it and ran away for a bit. That's totally cool.
Yeah.
We both go in and comment on the Instagram, everybody. So sometimes it might be me responding, or sometimes it might be Shadoe responding. And we'll tell you who it is. If we're responding to a DM or something, we'll be like, hey, it's Victoria, or hey, it's Shadoe. So you know who you're talking to. But that's cool, because then I started looking at it. I was like, this is great. And then before we press record today, we kind of celebrated. I was like, have you seen how many views you got on that? It's like the most views you've ever gotten. So I'm encouraging you to continue. And I think the lesson learned is that people want to see you. Like it's not the Victoria show. It's the Victoria and Shadoe show. And I think I love you. People love you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm ready to ditch my breakfast right now, but that's fine. continue with the episode.
I want to say a quote that I saw. I always save like a good quote that I find on Instagram or something. And this is kind of goes along with this or not a little bit. It's like, in order to live the life you've never had, you need to do the things you've never done. And I thought that was a good encouraging one to like just keep trying new things and keep, because again, Shadoe and I feel so passionate about this podcast. We want everybody to listen to it. We want to reach as many people as possible. We think our message is important, and we know that that doesn't magically happen overnight. We know that we have to put some time into our Instagram account and put some time into reaching out. And we've also always believed, we believe in nurturing community, right? And all of the work that we do anyways. And we will respond to the comments. We will respond to those things. It will be one of us. It's just Shadoe and I. Right now, we don't have an administrative assistant yet. One day we will. So we will respond to those things. So keep encouraging us, and we will keep encouraging you, we hope. It's actually kind of interesting too. In my last Facebook Live in the Worry Free and Joyful Living group, I run a Facebook Live every Monday, and usually I do something motivational or something to learn about emotional health or something, right? And but last week I decided to do an Instagram 101. Members of the group and my members have been asking how to use it. I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know if people are going to think like, this is a weird workshop that you're running, Victoria, or and everyone loved it. Everyone was like, oh, I feel a bit demystified about it, or I feel encouraged to use it, because what I said was, there's actually a silver lining to Instagram specifically. I'm not talking about TikTok. I'm not talking about Pinterest, maybe a little bit of Facebook too, like Facebook groups, but there is a lot of mindless scrolling that goes on all of those. But the interesting thing about Instagram right now is that you've heard like Instagram's dying. It's only for old people. And same with Facebook. I am the old person. Like it's 40, so it's kind of being taken over by women 40 plus. And the interesting thing is that you can actually use it in two ways. One is the algorithm on Instagram, in terms of what you see, is designed off of a human brain. So if you search something and then all of a sudden you start to see all of this stuff show up on your feed that's something you searched, that teaches you about how your brain ruminates on things or focuses on things. And then the next couple things that will show up will be what's related to that original thing you searched, or the thing you search most often. So you can kind of learn about how you work as an example through Instagram. But the other thing that I was teaching was, there's benefits when you post on Instagram, because it keeps you in the present moment. It motivates you to find a moment of joy, or it motivates you to connect as your authentic self when you post a reel. So that's actually a practice in self-awareness and a practice in self-connection. So there's benefits to that. And have you ever heard this quote? This is one of the founders of Instagram. He said, in the past, people have looked at photos as a record of memory. The focus has been on the past tense. With Instagram, you can focus on the present tense. It keeps you in the moment. So you're like, oh my God, look at this amazing thing in nature. And you take a picture of it and you post it, and then you write about it. Right? So whereas in the past, we've just taken pictures. We haven't written about it. When you write that caption, it's almost like journaling, right? So you're able to keep that memory, like you're using tools to actually get that memory into your brain better, and not just have it be a fleeting experience. If you're making like meaningful posts, or if you're making posts, so there's two things. You're making meaningful posts, or you're making posts of your everyday and sharing who you are, which is what yours was. I don't want to do it. Right? Yeah. But what that did is it motivated you to connect and to be honest and be vulnerable, and then look at all the response you got. Right? So if you just like make a post that's like, I'm walking the dog, here's the dog, or whatever, you're just giving people snippets of the real you. And that's important too. I mean, I think we're giving people snippets of the real us here too, more than snippets, but we got to keep doing that, right? So there's benefits when you post. And then you also get feedback, and it also can be a practice in mindfulness, because it keeps you in the present moment a little longer. Like, oh my gosh, look at the sun. This is probably going to be my post today. I'm probably going to do something when I'm walking and show the sun. And then I'm going to write a quick couple sentences about how it makes me feel. So that's actually pretty therapeutic. So that's actually a benefit, right? And then the benefit when you scroll, as long as you don't get into that like scrolling for too long, is when you interact is the benefit. So not just scrolling. So when you find an account that you like and you follow it, that's comparable to setting an intention. So say you follow the Let's Relieve Regret podcast. You're like, oh, I'm setting an intention to listen to the podcast or to think about relieving regret or to think about letting go, because whenever you see our posts, it's going to trigger something in you with that intention, right? When you like or comment on something on social media, that's comparable to giving your brain focus. So make sure you're liking and commenting on things that bring you joy or are interest. This is the key. Bring you joy, are interesting, are educating you, you're learning from, that are a learning experience, that are wonder, awe, and beauty, because that's all good for our brain and good for our emotional health. And then when you share, right, you share it to your story or you can send it to another person. That's community. This is really funny and I want you to laugh with me, right?
Yeah.
And so there's specifically with Instagram, because these are things you can do on Instagram, right? And so I ran this workshop and taught everybody that, and everybody's like, wow, okay. Because the interesting thing is too, and then the second part was, how does the algorithm actually work? Likes don't count as much as share and saves and comments. So when you comment on people's stuff, everybody commented on Shadoe's post, a lot of people did. We see that as real people. I saw it, it made me happy. Shadoe sees it, it makes her happy to get all that love and feedback. So know that that's a form of like gratitude, encouragement, support. And all you need to do is comment an emoji or something like that. But also the things that you comment on or the posts that you share, that's going to help you see what those accounts are posting on your account, on your feed when you are scrolling. So you want to, likes don't actually count as much. And people think, it used to be likes, right? So people think, oh, I'm just going to like everything and that's easy. Comment, share, and save and follow everybody, because then you will see those accounts more. I don't even know how I got into this tangent, but I got on this thinking about Instagram, and actually numbers are showing that Instagram isn't dying either. It's still making tons of money, right? So it's not dying for the old people, the 40 pluses or the 35 pluses, and especially for women. So get on there. Use Instagram to your benefit. Just the caveat is like, notice if you're doom scrolling. Like you have to interact, because when you interact, it slows you down from scrolling, right? You see something you like, comment on it, share it, save it, because that will slow you down from like the mindlessly scrolling. It'll make you interact and set intention. So you can actually use it as a positive tool. And case and point, and now I'm coming full circle, Shadoe's amazing post. She was honest, she was authentic, and she got lots of comments. And we thank you, everybody, for following our Instagram account and supporting us, because when you comment, it helps our Instagram account get shown to people that aren't following us. That's also how the algorithm works. So it supports small business. So if there's small podcasts, small businesses that you want to support, one of the best things you can do is follow them and comment on their posts. Comments count way more than likes. So but you can really use it for some good things. So it's a silver linings kind of day.
Yeah, nice.
Silver linings of Instagram, silver linings of the week the sun's out, silver linings.
Yeah. I find it so interesting that anyone has even suggested that like Instagram's dying or is for the old people, because it is an old app. It's been around for more than 10 years. So like I got Instagram in my 20s and like now I'm in my 30s. So I'm changing. So the app is changing with, or it's almost like aging with the audience that's been there since the beginning.
Yeah, and that's the same as Facebook.
Yeah. Great intro. Did you have any?
So that's my cause for applause.
I was just want to make sure. Is that your cause for applause?
Like the workshop, I was like, I'm really not sure how it's going to go. And then everybody gave such positive feedback. Like, thank you. I'm going to use Instagram more. And I've been noticing people commenting on my stuff more too. And so
nice.
Also, anybody listening, if you want to see the replay of the workshop, just join my Facebook group, Worry Free and Joyful Living. The link's underneath in the podcast notes. And it's there because it was a Facebook Live. So the replay is in the Facebook group and you can go back and watch it. And it's there in the feed or in the video section. So it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Do you have a cause for applause other than you made an amazing Instagram post?
I do have a separate cause for applause, and it's almost directly related. So as our listeners know, we record a couple days before we publish. So today is Groundhog Day.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah. So this cause for applause isn't even about I think they're saying it's going to be a shorter winter, early spring.
I'm pretty sure that's what Wyerton Willie said,
Yeah.
and Schenectady Sam.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not. That's because that's not even what I want to celebrate. Because like, I mean, we didn't really have winter this year anyway. So the fact that we're already at Groundhog Day is kind of freaking me out. But Groundhog Day always freaks me out because with a name like Shadoe, it has been a field day year over year over year of bad jokes from high school teachers, bosses, all these other things where like back when I was working corporate, there was a couple Groundhog Days where I called in sick because I didn't want to deal with the, oh, Shadoe, you're here. Oh, I guess that means we are going to have a shorter winter. Or like, and what? Like, why would that be part of it? Like, and I used to get so upset over Groundhog Day, but now I'm kind of leaning into it. I think, there's lots of bad things happening in the world right now and always, honestly, that I can now look back at like those moments where like people were just having fun, right? Like I really internalized it and made it this like weird, sad thing for myself to kind of be like, oh, I hate Groundhog Day. Oh,
You're
it's
making
so
fun
bad.
of my name. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, but now I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, it's joyful, it's fine, it's if that's going to bring a smile to someone's face, like that's the kind of impact I want to have on the world anyway. I think I would love to hear some Groundhog Day jokes now that I'm more mature.
Let's put a post up on Instagram and see how many people
Um,
comment with the joke.
yeah, yeah. And, it's I'm sure they're not going to be very original because I heard them all before, but my reaction to them will be a lot more original and a lot more welcoming and not so much of the ew, stop it kind
Can you
of.
give me an example of like what people would say? Would it just be like, okay, this is gonna sound bad. I was just gonna say, did you pop out of your hole this morning and see your shadow? Like that's terrible.
So
That sounds awful.
or it would
Sorry.
be like literally some people would say like, oh, why are you here? Like, or I'm now the groundhog because I just saw Shadoe, and like, it would just be
So cheesy and weird.
so
I hate
cheesy and
corporate culture
weird.
sometimes. Ugh.
Yeah, yeah. That's my cause for applause, is that I think this is the year I'm giving up my hatred for Groundhog Day.
Yay. Also, you're not in a corporate atmosphere and people won't make the jokes. So that's kind of nice
Well,
too.
it's actually more like a carryover from high school. I think high school was the worst of it.
Mm-hmm.
And because like even like I remember one, oh man, grade 11, this again, it's funny the things that you remember. I have this memory like seared into my brain where it was the first week of grade 11 and I got to the area of our high school where all the science classes were, and all of the science teachers were in the hallway, and they all were all kind of, and I went to a performing arts high school, so the science teachers were also the gym teachers.
Yeah. Awesome.
I know it
Amazing.
sounds terrible. So they were all
Love
kind of
it.
very like jockey and whatever. So I'm walking down the hall, and I'm not going to name names, but the one teacher like kind of taps the other teacher and points at me and is like, she's here, and they all like gather, and I'm like
Oh,
walking down the hall being like, oh no, and they're like, Shadoe, we finally thought of a new joke, and it wasn't Groundhog. This was just like a whole thing where they were like, guess what, Shadoe, I figured something out. You're the only person who can stand beside themselves, literally. And then all four of them like chortled, like they just thought it was the funniest thing. And I remember just being like, it took you all summer to come up with that, and like walked away in my 16-year-old sassiness.
that's amazing that you thought of a comeback right away. That's
Oh,
great. Good for you.
I loved being very sassy and sarcastic as a teenager, and it's been a hard habit to break out of,
Yeah, I would have
honestly.
froze. I freeze in situations like that. And then 20 minutes later, I'm like, darn, I should have said this.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, no, and it was just, yeah. So again, having a unique name has lots of benefits, and as an adult, I can see those benefits. But as a kid, I was like, why couldn't you have named me like Sarah? Or like,
can I point something out too?
yeah,
This totally goes along with like my belief in, not belief, but like knowledge in the work that I do in terms of planting the seed in the subconscious brain.
yeah,
So like these conversations can do that. The work that I do with clients one-on-one, where I actually make a script to plant seeds, or affirmations, if they're worded correctly. I don't like affirmations necessarily, but
yeah,
so we when I think it was when Tina, our guest Tina, was on, your
Mm.
regret was your name.
Yeah.
And then we had to talk about leaning in,
Hmm.
and then you just leaned in.
Yeah. I'm still, well, yeah,
And
with
it
the
doesn't mean
first
that
part
like
of my
it's
name.
completely reprogrammed
Yeah.
your brain, but like
Yeah.
you're like, this year I'm going to lean in. And there was
Yeah.
like this really in-depth conversation we had about leaning in. And then
Hmm.
you've obviously been doing background thinking and thinking about it for a while and
Hmm.
whatever. But
Hmm.
there's a real magic in like having conversations like we have, practicing affirmations in some way or like script or in reprogramming, and it can magically happen in the background. And look what happened. Cool.
Hmm.
Thanks, Tina.
Yeah. Call it to
Go
Tina.
back and
And
listen to that episode if you haven't heard that episode. If you're
yeah.
listening to Let's Review Got for the first time or you didn't listen to that episode, is a really good episode.
Hmm.
Shadoe talks about her name, and Tina shares a regret too, which was
Hmm.
really, really good and relatable as well.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Hmm. Yeah.
Deep work doesn't have to be hard work
Yeah.
sometimes.
I mean, in that episode, I specifically was talking about my full name and not just my first name, but there's still a relation there. So yeah, you're
It's
right. Like
connected. It's
there's a
connected. Yeah.
seed planted, and you don't harvest the fruit the same day you plant the seed. So
Yeah, I love that quote too. I always
yeah, I
forget about
know.
that quote.
Hmm.
We're full of quotes today.
I know. Oh, and I also wanted to point out I'm looking at like my prep notes for today, and I wrote Groundhog Day instead of Groundhog.
Ah! Everybody go plank on the ground today.
Yeah,
Give the
Groundhog
ground a
Day.
hug. Give
Yeah,
the earth a hug. That's amazing. There's a lot going on in the subconscious today in the subliminal, I
so
think.
funny. Yeah.
Are you ready to share?
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's your turn to go first.
All right, I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Okay. I have an experience I need to let go of in order to move forward. I regret my desire for chaos. I became so used to chaos in my younger years that I mistakenly believed that I enjoyed it, or more accurately, that I was good at managing it. And honestly, with ADHD, my brain does thrive in emergency situations. Before being diagnosed with ADHD, something I said all the time was, if it's hard, I can do it. If it's easy, I can't. Even when driving, I'm not great with my right and left, even at my 37-year-old self. But something I did learn was if someone was giving me directions and they said turn right or left, is I memorized that when I pressed down on the signal, I'd be going left. And if I pressed up, I was going to be going right. So if someone gave me directions with left and right, I would go up or down. And then I would follow the little arrow that came up on the dashboard, which is way more complicated than just understanding your left and right. But like for me, it has never quite stuck. So there's a huge difference between being good at something and actually thriving when doing it. Looking back, whenever I have taken on chaotic moments or to be honest, caused them myself, I would be exhausted afterwards. The consequences I'm missing out on due to holding on to this regret are that I still resist structure, even though I know that having structure helps me. When writing regrets for this podcast, I use our template because it's easier to fill in the blanks than it is to just write off the cuff. However, sticking to regular maintenance tasks is so freaking challenging. It's those day-to-day things like keeping surfaces clear, running the dishwasher each night. These kinds of things I find absolutely hard to do. What I regret the most about my desire for chaos is all the little fights I started with Ben whenever I felt the boredom stick in. I never really learned how to enjoy predictability. I always just saw it as boredom. So today I'm going to say I've done everything I can in those moments with the tools I had at the time, and that's okay. I am grateful to who I was then, and I have grown in so many ways. And at the time, I didn't even know I was really causing the chaos myself. But looking back, it's quite clear. I am weirdly excited to embrace predictability because maybe I can reframe it as a challenge within itself.
Loved it. Do you
Thanks.
want feedback or do you just want to use your voice and be heard today?
Just need to get it out there. I just need to, like, it's so weird to be like, oh, I just need to grow up. Because, like, that was never, it's not like a Peter Pan syndrome thing. It's just like I don't know. Like, I think I just got, so, like I said in the regret, like, I just got so used to chaos that predictability felt scary. Yeah, I don't think I need feedback today, but I do appreciate the offer. I think, yeah, like I just know that I need to,
Put it out there to the world.
yeah, get it out there into the world, take ownership of like becoming more comfortable with the predictability because it like I said, like it can also be a challenge to embrace predictability.
And I want to acknowledge what you said. And I want to acknowledge that I love watching when people have self awareness moments or put things out to the world. So thank you for
Mm.
letting me witness it with you.
Yeah, well, and thank you
Yeah.
for I mean, this podcast even lets me dig this deep, right? Like we're however many episodes we're in now, and I feel like this is one that I've been wanting to do since season one, but I just wasn't quite ready to share it. So I'm ready to share it now, but I'm not quite ready to accept feedback on it.
Okay. I have a big smile on my face because I think that's huge. So thank you.
Okay.
Acknowledging it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. What do you, yeah, now I'm
I
all
know. Now we don't know
discombobulated.
what to do. No feedback, which is interesting. So I'll share mine
Great,
and we'll see
wonderful.
what happens. So, okay. I have something I want to let go of in order to move forward. A regret or a feeling. It's a little bit of guilt. It's about guilty pleasures. I think I watch too much TV. It's interesting because TV is like a way to connect to people. Did you watch this episode? Did you watch that episode? But recently I learned about this idea. I actually think you taught me, Shadoe, about revenge watching. So at the end of the day, you've worked hard, you've done all these things, and you're like, F it. I deserve to watch 4 episodes of my favorite thing because this is my favorite show, because this is going to be self-care. And this is, I need to watch some mind-numbing TV. And I realized that it's a habit that I developed when I was working corporate and when I was leading into my burnout and ultimately became burnout, just generally when I was overworked. So I'd work and work and work, come home late, eat dinner, watch some TV. It was mind numbing and it felt good because it was mind numbing. And I needed to numb my mind at that point because I was so overstimulated and so overworked. And then I'd go to bed. But the reality is when you do that, it's not self-care, right? It's okay to watch some TV, to enjoy it, to laugh at, but if you're doing that and doing no self-care for yourself, which is what I was doing when I was working corporate, the TV doesn't count as self-care. Now, I am doing a lot of self-care for myself now. I go for my walks every day. I do this podcast, which is like self-care, having conversations. There's so many things in my life that are better once I decided to design my life intentionally. But one of the habits that I haven't gotten rid of is that revenge watching. And I've been doing it more over this winter with, again, my SAD seems pretty bad this year. And I should be going to bed because for some reason I'm still waking up every morning around the same time. So by doing that revenge watching at nighttime, I'm basically taking away hours of sleep from myself. And sleep is important. Sleep heals. Sleep does so many things for us, right? And so I feel kind of embarrassed to say that I watch too much TV because again, there's kind of like this idea of what a wellness coach is and they have this perfect life. And I kind of talked about it on the last podcast too, is like leaning in and letting go of this expectations. But I do think, and I know that watching too much TV at nighttime and staying up late isn't great. It's not great for me. It's one of the first things that I tell my one-on-one clients to look at and see how much they're doing. So feeling a bit of shame, feeling a bit of guilt, but putting it out there today, I would like to let go of this habit. And the consequences, I think I've already said some of them, is like not as much sleep, not as much tuning into myself, not as much focusing on my relationship with myself and my relationship with Christian, and doing the things that I need to do to feel healthy in my body, mind, and emotion, and in my business. That's that's who I am, like kind of right now in the winter. And that's okay. But I also am totally capable of making the change and totally capable of making healthier habits for myself. And I can lean into that and I can do that too. So that's my regret.
Thanks, Victoria. Do you want feedback today or did you just want to share this?
So this is funny. I just want to put it out there too, because I feel like a little shame and guilt about it. And you know what? I'd love to return to it. Maybe we do a follow-up episode to this episode where we do give feedback. Maybe we let it simmer and sit for a couple months or whatever. But I don't know. I feel so much cringe around it and shame around it. And I mean, I watch documentaries and things that I like to learn too, but then I also like binge watch crappy TV.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I'm just putting it out there to the world and like admitting my like almost dirty little secret that I watch too much TV.
Right.
So there it is, everybody.
Nice.
But what I kind of do want to say is I think it's good for us to have an episode where we don't have any feedback.
Yeah, for sure.
We didn't know we were going to do this before. We always say this. I didn't know what Shadoe's story is going to be. Yep. She doesn't know what my story is going to be. But I think it's good to like kind of demonstrate that and have moments of just saying what you need to say in a safe place. I'm going to try to connect it to our like talk about Instagram and those sorts of things. Is like sometimes you just got to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to be vulnerable and now we'll both walk away from it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
See how we feel about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I hear you. I think that was a great share. I know other people are going to feel the same way because I definitely do. But thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for hearing me. Now, here's my one question before we close off.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to say about the fact that we both just wanted to be heard today?
I guess I'm kind of left with the idea that when we share our regrets that like have been fully fleshed out, like we are more into getting feedback. But when we share these ones that are a little bit more like, ew, like we don't want to. And I just think that's interesting. I that's all I'm going to add is I just think it's interesting that the closer they are to our bad sides, the less receptive we are to feedback. But that's okay too. So what about you? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I kind of want to say that there's nothing bad about this episode with no feedback, but it's part of the process, right? It's part of the process. And again, when I'm doing my wellness coaching and my mindset coaching and that kind of stuff, when I have a new client, they just tell me their stories and I just listen, right? And it's part of the small and slow solutions process. Often, sometimes when we're giving a regret or when a guest is, it has been fleshed out because we've gone through that writing process and we're ready for feedback or we've thought more deeply about it. It's almost like we've already let it go a little bit of that shame, but part of the process, the first step is just acknowledging it. And that's what we did today, right? Is we just acknowledged it. We put it out there feeling a little cringy or maybe a little shame or guilt about it, but we still said it, we got it outside of our brains, outside of our inside world. We put it out there. I think it's good that we did this today because I want to make sure that our listeners know that sometimes there's steps that happen before and it's same on your journey too, right? Small and slow solutions. And today was a demonstration of a small and slow solution or like kind of a first step. And that's totally the point of us asking, do you want feedback or do you want to be heard or use your voice or do you just want to vent? And also being okay with what the other person says, because remember this when you're talking to your friends out there. If you ask them and they say, I just want to vent, to respect that because that's what they need from you. And there's a lot of unsolicited advice that happens out there. And sometimes when you're giving the unsolicited advice, it doesn't make the other person feel better. You're just making yourself feel better.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that's why we demonstrate this. Do you want feedback or just want to be heard in like a kind, loving way? I love you, Shadoe, right? A kind, loving way. Yeah, I think it's a great episode. I'm kind of laughing. Yeah. We're both kind of giggling a little bit because it's kind of funny. We both had one that we didn't want feedback on, but
yeah,
I think it's great too.
Yeah, we're always connected brain wise. We've been really going deep with this podcast, so I'm not surprised.
I mean, this is deep too. I mean, I feel it, like the shame around watching too much TV, like it's deep. So
yeah.
Should we do our 3 breaths?
Yeah, let's.
All
yes,
right.
let's.
All right, everybody come onto the front edge of your seat. Put your feet flat on the floor if it's safe to do so. Placing one hand on your heart. Shrug your shoulders up and down. I want you to feel your feet on the floor. And just know that the earth is always supporting you. Gravity will never let you float away. And just feel your feet sticking to the earth. Or maybe it's your bum in a chair if you're driving. Now shrugging your shoulders up and down. And I want you to say to yourself, self, may you be well. Taking a big breath in, big breath out. Let it sink in. And on this next breath, say to yourself, self, may you be kind to yourself. And on this last breath, self, may you be safe and at ease. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We will connect with you again in the next episode or on Instagram. Connect with us live. Send us some comments. We will respond back. We love building community. Thank you so much for listening, for tuning in. We appreciate you so much, and we will see you in the next one.
I have one little plug before we go.
Oh, plug. We got a plug. Okay, go.
Yeah, no, I just want to say, if you want to be a guest on the Let's Relieve Regret podcast, the link will be available in the show notes as well as our Instagram page, because we would love to hear from more of you. And if you're ready to go through this process, we are ready to have you.
Yeah, I think we learned that too from Alex's episode is it doesn't have to be like our guest doesn't have to be someone that specializes in something. We love having guests that specialize in stuff too, but we just want to hear your stories.
Yeah.
And we just want to share, and we just want to help everybody that listens feel more connected and not alone, because we are all having a human experience together. If you want to be a guest, we will coach you through it. We will make sure that you feel good about it when we record, and it's we'll have some moments together.
Yep.
Okay,
absolutely.
Now can we do it?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Okay,
bye.
This episode of Let's Relieve Regret was produced by Shadoe Ball and Victoria Muir-Garcia. We are an independent podcast supported by you, our listeners.
You can become a supporter by donating $3, $5, or even $8 per month at www.letsrelieveregretpodcast.buzzsprout.com and click on the support button. You can find the link in the show notes.
Our goal is to empower as many women as possible to overcome the shame and guilt that accompanies regret.
If this podcast helped you have an aha moment, help us spread the word. It's free for you, and it means the world to us.
Please follow us on Instagram at relieve.regret.
Tell 2 friends.
Or leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Find all this information and more in the show notes. Okay, bye.